Well, good evening, all. Ira Epstein with your weekend edition of your financial market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is for the weekend of Friday, the 26th of January, 2024. It's hard to believe we're coming to the end of January already, going to be into February. This is going to be a huge week in the market. Over 100 of the S&P 500 stocks report earnings. We have the Federal Reserve FOMC meeting. We get the JOLTS data, probably the ADP data, probably, I think, Challenger Gray data. We're going to get the U.S. jobs report. You're buried this week. This is going to be one heck of a week for information coming at you. And for those of you that look at foreign markets, we'll get the Bank of England's decision on its monetary policy. So, whoa, what a time. Today, 2 more ships were struck by missile attacks. One is on fire in the Red Sea. They were both carrying, as I understand it, Russian crude oil. Now, typically, the Houthis have not been attacking ships that carry goods from China and or Russia. And all of a sudden, those got hit, 2 of them. So something's going on, not quite certain what it is. We saw that at the court, The Hague, International Court, that Israel was told to stop committing genocide. I don't know if that means they're committing it or not, but let's assume that they are. But they weren't told to stop fighting. So there's a win in there for the Palestinians. There's a win in there for Israel. And the question is, we know that our head of CIA is in the Middle East now negotiating. How do we get everybody to a truce? And nobody's come up and said what the post-war is going to look like. That is going to be what everybody is going to ultimately be looking at. We have the budget issues in the United States that have not been resolved. And we are hearing already how President Trump is telling Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, what he wants, because unless Nikki Haley pulls something out very quickly, she's not going anywhere. That doesn't mean she's not capable. We'll see. There's a big money-raising event taking place, I think, January 30th. And that's right around the corner here to give her more money so that she has a war chest to do things. We'll see. I see the people that are going to it. They're the who's who of America money. So we will see what's going on with that. But you've got to understand that's going to end sooner than anything if she doesn't start winning. You can't be president without winning. So you've got to win some things. And if she gets blown away in her own South Carolina, game is over. I mean, how's that look to the whole country? So that won't be a very good event if that happens, and that's coming up too. So what a time to be around all this. All right. When we look at the S&P, up again another 2%. So if you and I just step back and look at this on a monthly basis, you're up 2% in January. Let's see if I can get this to come back here. And let's go now to December. You were up 5% in December. You were up in November 8.7, so that's going to be 15%. I'm looking for a downtime. That's where it's gone. So you have gone up just boom, boom, 15% in 12 weeks. I mean, unbelievable any way you want to look at it. And that's for the whole index. That's not an individual stock that catches on fire or gets smashed like a Tesla, any of those different things that are happening. On the weekly charts, we had one small correction, and after that, the market just took off again. And when we look at this, you see where that correction came in and how the market stepped back. Now, if you really look at the chart, and we had talked about this in prior times here. Let's see if I can get this to come back, and I can. Here we go. It's just taking a little longer than I wanted to. You have an inverted head and shoulder formation that some of the traders might have looked at. Do you remember me talking about this? Because I was doing it for the longest period of time. I had begun here with one and said shoulder, shoulder, head, and then you did it again. You have to use your imagination. Think of this as the head of an upside down human. Their shoulder, another shoulder. So you measure. Some people will say, well, it's right here around the 4,100 level to the 4,600 level. And that gives you a count. You flip it over. Try to imagine you can grab it and pull like that and drop it. That would give you a count to around 5,100. So we've had at the beginning of the year, and I think you realize that people come out and they like to be bold and get themselves into the press and they go, this is what the market is going to do for the year. The outlier number, the highest number that I saw was in the neighborhood of 5,400. You're already at 49.16, and the vast amount of them were under the 5,000 level, at least the analyst I was looking at. You've made people's counts. Now, there's two ways I guess you can look at that. We're going to continue going, and the market's going to blow through everything, or we're way ahead of ourselves, and we have to consolidate this. I'm of that camp. I don't know where the consolidation begins, when it begins, and I'm not going to play for it. There's no question in my mind there will be losses in some of the moves that I make, because if you don't participate, you get left behind. And at the end, you're the last guy standing for a short while. The key is tight stops, and you let the market do what it wants. But you've got higher lows, higher highs. The music ain't over. Not yet. You've also got the pattern where the market's coming up. So where's the Bollinger Band? It's still higher, the 5,022 level. Now we got here, and I really thought that might be where the market was ready to pull back, consolidate, might even pull back a little bit. That didn't happen at that time. And that's why I say, if you become that way where you say, oh, I'm not going to trade, I got to be careful, you get left behind in these things, all right? And it doesn't work that way. Do you remember 2007, 2008, when the market bottomed and started up? And I remember I was one of those guys, by the way, going, nah, this is just a bounce in a bear market. And it was way more than that. Taught me another lesson. Now you'll say, when was that? Oh, God, it's 16 years ago. It's time flies. And you learn from if you don't learn, there's something wrong with you. Can you learn on everything? Does everything repeat itself? Eventually. That's what I've learned. That's the advantage of age. Everything does repeat itself. You're embedded. Until you lose that embedded reading, I'm a broken record to you. I'm telling you, you buy the breaks. Until that's done, there's a certain way you do it. I teach it in a course, so it's not that I make this up. I teach it in my enhanced Bollinger Band course. Go take a look at it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Still looks to me like you've got momentum to the upside. The Dow, the same thing. As long as this is embedded, I'm in the bull camp. When it's lost, I'll step out of the bull camp. Can I be clearer than that? Same in the NASDAQ. And in the NASDAQ, you know this was a rough week. You had Tesla down dramatically, Netflix up dramatically. So you've gotten these Mag 7, as they used to be called, because Cramer's saying now they're the Mag 6. He might be right, by the way. Tesla's now, the maturity of Tesla, the company. Musk has many other companies that are very cutting edge. SpaceX, think of that. Starlink, Earthlink, with all that. My son uses that in the middle of California. He's a forest ranger. It's phenomenal. He's not a park ranger. A forest ranger is out in the wilderness, folks. You look at all this and what it is, but eventually, things like cars become a commodity. And I don't know why people don't get that. And I was 5 years ago saying that, and I was getting beat up. People would tell me, you don't know, Ira, you have no idea. And I have yet to meet a Tesla person that's not in love with their automobile. However, have you gone in the new Cadillac Lyriq? How gorgeous that is. Have you been in any of the other fully electric cars? A Ford Bronco, for example. Have you gone into the electric ones? There's a lot to be said, and they're not as Spartan featured as Tesla. Even Musk says finally, yes, redos are necessary, and he's smart. They have to do, he told his people, did you hear this the other day? You're going to be sleeping on the floor at the plant. We have to get our products done. When he says that, he means it. He set the pace. Remember him doing that to get Tesla off the ground in the U.S.? He was sleeping in the plant, and people were laughing. Here's this billionaire sleeping in the plant on a floor to make sure things are getting done. We told his people, you got to do this again because they've got to get a low-price car out. I just read today, Stellantis is bringing back the Fiat to America, 32,500 fully electric. Now, if it's made here and the components meet certain parts, that could be a $25,000 electric car. That gets exciting again if it gets the tax credit. If not, just another $32,000 car. You got to get under $30,000. You need cars for the mass, and that'll get the EV charging stations going and everything else. Right now, the reason I mention this right here is hybrids are where everything's happening. How often do you listen to me here? Have you been listening for the year? What did I tell you was the car in America? The one thing that's going to take off was hybrid. It makes all the sense. But down the road, EVs will be the car. There's still problems. We froze in Chicago a week ago. I mean froze. You know how many of these cars weren't charging, weren't running, fully electric? Big problems. When you come to the Russell, no. This is not the same bull type of market as the others. I know you all want it to be, that want to buy things that are cheap and good. I had one of my good clients right now, I told you the other day, and he goes, well, I'm playing individual. Individual stocks are one thing. I'm talking an index. It's not the place to be. Then we get to the interest rate. So we saw the futures come up. Now the correction is underway. You lost the ability to have a bullish embedded reading. You're in a correction mode. Which way are we going to go? What's the Fed going to say? January, 31st? Isn't that the day of the meeting? It's right in front of us. Be ready. Let's hear what they say. Every report that I've seen keeps me, I'm sure you'll hate me saying this, that I think a March meeting is much too soon to cut an interest rate. I have been saying that for months. I know we got up to 78% probability on the CME Fed watch page, who went under 50% today. So people are seeing what I am. I didn't say we won't get rate cuts when they're appropriate, because this restrictive high rates will hurt the economy. But did you see what happened in the housing numbers today, the pending sales? Right through the roof. So as soon as you bring mortgages towards 6%, people are out there buying. What happens when you crack 6? And it will. You wait for that. 10-year note, the correction. You don't want to be in that. You're losing the embedded reading ability. You can correct a bit more here in this market. That's what I think. In the dollar index, oversold, getting a bounce, but an awful lot of resistance. I still contend that 104 area is a big resistance point in this market, whereas the eurocurrency, a big support area. As much as Miss Lagarde's going, no, we're not going to cut rates. Our economy's hurting. We know we're going down here. I think the 108 could be an argument area that you fight, that the market is going to try to find a zone to hold. It didn't say bullish, a zone to hold. In the Canadian dollar, you have an uptrend unless and until you take out 73.91. Let's call it that. If that happens, then you can open the door up to get even further lower prices here. I like what was interesting. I saw in parts of Canada that, as the students come in different areas and they come from abroad to get schooling there, Canada's got good schools, cheap prices, it's very good, but the housing gets taken away. So they're making the colleges now in certain provinces say, yeah, you can bring in students, you have to guarantee their housing before they're given a visa to go to school. Brilliant. Make sure, don't let it put the pressure on the market. You got to look around these. There's a lot of great countries out there that have great ideas. Lower low, higher high. Looking at what's going on here, I don't see anything that's friendly. On the daily chart, I still see bearish action in this market. Bitcoin, what a correction. So you've gone in no time at all, 3 weeks, from 49,400 to the low so far this week of 38,500. You lost the bullish reading. You lost the embedded reading. You didn't quite hit the target. I still have an open target closer to 37,587. Am I bearish? No. You have a bullish bias when you're over the 18-week. There's a way not to be bullish anymore. That doesn't mean I'm in the bear camp. I'd like to see it fall down there and see what it's made out of. And in my full research, if you get that, I keep mentioning things like each major event in Bitcoin gets met with a run to the upside, and then afterwards, a very severe correction. It can be when they have the amount that's made. It could be the ETFs that just came out. Is anybody but me noticing that the SEC is again at it and they're not giving quick approval to the Ethereum ETFs? They want more control over this. I don't blame them. I'm for that, all right? I saw the cowboy land in futures. Do you remember pink sheets when you'd buy penny stocks and what these brokers would do? Do you ever see all these movies, Wall Street and all them? Read what it is. You get the controls in place and everything's a better game. I'm a guy that's lived through it, so I'm telling you that. Higher highs, higher lows, still the differential of Brent WTI, that's still friendly. And here's a market that finally stuck its head out over 82.64. That went bullish. So until you get back down under the low of not this week, but the week before, you've now entered again the bullish camp in that market, doing the same in the WTI from my perspective. Heating oil, same thing. You lift it out. This was the objective in heating oil. Heating oil is different than the others because it's a seasonal play. You're already at the end of January. The market will be in February talking, hey, when are we going to convert the plants to gasoline production instead of heating oil? You always got to understand how these things work out with it. So you play it, you take a look at it, and you learn. And that's my goal. In the mornings, I teach, not in the free videos. These are just the feeders into where the real meat is. The meat is in my morning subscriber video for both futures and ETFs and what I write. I write 2 updates a week for Monday through Thursday, 1 on Friday, 1 Sunday night. I teach, I bring you to points that the market's looking at, and I prep you for where I think the event's going to happen and what you got to be looking for. Can I be right every time? No, of course not. Nobody can. But that's the idea. So if you're a trader that is looking for somebody to give you that, I'm going to bring you to another level. I don't just say buy because I feel it. We open up charts. We look at them both daily and weekly. Here's what the chart action looks like, and here's why it looks that way. Here's where a stop should be. Here's a momentum trade. How do you play that type of trade? Where you put it and what you do. I cover 40 futures in the morning and over 40 stock ETF charts. In addition, subscribers can write me direct. And if they have questions on individual stocks, I will create a short 30 to 1 minute video, send it to you, and I've covered your stock. Now, I'm not going to spend my day doing many, all right? So a stock, don't give me 10 of them. I get people to do that. I'm not doing it, all right? I'm not your individual broker. You're buying a service from me, and I'm doing extra things for it. I want you as my client, and once I get you as my client, I want you to stay with me that way. So how do you get this? Go to iraepstein.com. Under the word research on the website. It's all explained there. And when you become one, you can at any point modify your subscription. You don't need to talk to anybody. It's all in the website itself. It's all there, everything you want to do. I have people that go, gee, I want more. And they'll modify from the morning subscriptions to the full research. Then they're going, well, gee, I want the ETF. I get people to go, no, I don't need futures. I just want the ETFs. Back and forth. You do it all online. I make it easy. I'm Ira Epstein. The other easy part is for you to enjoy your weekend. I'll catch up with everybody Monday morning, and it's going to be a wild week, so be ready for it. Take care.